Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining me today for our webinar, Overnight Rail Journeys with Railbookers, Our Top Holidays. My name's Sam. I'll be your host today. I'm the General Manager here at Railbookers. I'll be talking you through some of our most popular trips by overnight train through Europe, hopefully giving you some inspiration for 2021. I'll start by saying that you're all definitely on trend today, because our overnight holidays have definitely been some of our most popular trips for next year. And perhaps, due to that extra level of privacy and space they give you on board and that relaxation and comfort. But they definitely have been very, very popular. And the good news is a lot of the operators across Europe are starting to reintroduce more and more sleeper trains for next year. So keep watch on our website, because I'm sure there'll be a lot more holidays with overnight trains coming in the future. So let's get started today. First few minutes, I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about Railbookers. Those of you that have attended our webinars before may have seen this in the past. So just bear with me. And then once we get through that, we'll talk, in great detail about some of our most popular trips. So I'll just start by mentioning our offer that we have running at the moment, our Black Friday offer. So all the holidays that you see featured today will include some type of discount, anywhere between £300 and £500 off. So any holidays between 4 and 6 nights will qualify for £300 off per couple, £150 per person. 7 to 9 nights, £400 off, or £200 per person. And any 10-night plus a holiday qualifies for £500 off per couple, £250 off per person. So as I say, all of our holidays will fall into those categories today. So there are some great offers at this time of year. Just to give you a quick understanding of why customers come to Railbookers, so we are able to sell our holidays anywhere from 2 days to 2 years out, and our holidays go anytime, any day, anywhere that the train travels, really. Obviously, there's not too many people traveling in 2 days' time, but we do have a lot of people currently booking for spring, summer of 2021, and looking further afield into 2022 as well. So if you are looking for perhaps that more luxurious, longer holiday, you need a bit more time to plan it, we can look at holidays anywhere up to 24 months out. Also, please be reminded that all of our itineraries are completely customizable. So anything that you see today, we can tailor to your specifications. So if you've been on the website, you've seen a particular holiday that you like, but you wanted to include an additional destination, you wanted to add extra nights, you wanted to change the class of travel, whatever it may be, you can speak to us and we can customize it to your needs. We do offer a lot of holidays that are very good for special occasions, a lot of bucket list trips, a lot of luxury options. Our hotels range between 3 and 5 star. We offer, standard first class, excellence class on a lot of the trains as well. So if it is the extra special journey that you're looking for, we might have the holiday just for you. Also, all our holidays are independent holidays. I think it's important to remind people of that, so you have the freedom and flexibility to travel as you please within the destinations. We have complete customer assistance as well while you're away, so although it is independent, you're never really on your own, but you don't have to be at a certain place at a certain time on each day to make sure that you're meeting a tour, for instance. If you wish for us to include tours, we can do, but that's entirely up to you. And very important at the moment, just to mention that we are ABTA and ATOL protected. Also, just to point out that we currently, as you would expect, let's have a maximum flexibility offer in place. That means that for any new reservations booked this year, we're allowing our customers to change their travel dates or postpone their trip up to 5 days prior to departure. And if any of you already have existing reservations with us, then please note that you can reschedule those up to 5 days prior to departure as well, and that's without incurring any change fees at all. That currently runs up to the 31st of December this year, but there is a possibility that we will extend that into next year, just depending on how things go in the future. I mentioned our global support. So yes, 24-hour support from global offices. So we do have an office in London. We have 2 offices in the US, 1 in Australia, and recently 1 opened in Canada as well. That means really wherever you are in the world, you should be able to call us and somebody will be able to answer the phone from our dedicated guest relations team to be able to answer any questions you have. So as I mentioned, you are traveling independently, but you've always got the support from our guest relations team should you have any questions whilst you're on your holiday. We take the mystery out of rail travel. You can see here by looking at the rail network map across Europe, that it is quite intricate. A lot of people call us because they've had a look at some destinations they wish to visit, but they're just not quite sure the best way to get there. It could be that you're after the most direct route or the most scenic routes. Perhaps you want the most luxurious route, or you're just looking at the most cost-effective option. There are plenty of different ways to travel across Europe by train. There isn't a one-size-fits-all option. So we're here to put together the holiday based on your requirements. So as I say, if you're having trouble trying to plan that route, do give us a call. We've got plenty of options for you. Couple of our rail partnerships here. We're going to see some of these today. We'll be using the Trenitalia trains traveling into Venice, the Deutsche Bahn services as we travel into Eastern Europe as well. We also, contract with Via Rail and Amtrak in North America. There won't be any North American holidays on this particular presentation today. At the moment, there's no travel out to North America, but obviously, those flights will open up over the next 6 months. So if you are interested in a sleeper train holiday across North America, we do offer those. They are on our website. We can start to plan those out for you if that's something that you're looking for in 2021 and 2022. Just a quick note on how the operators are maintaining a safe environment, question on everybody's lips right now. So on the trains, of course, it goes without saying, they're requiring facial coverings in stations and on the trains for all passengers and staff. They've stopped the sale of food and drink on board some of the trains. They've started to reintroduce that again now as they're finding ways to get around it and still keep it completely safe. What I would say, though, is, of course, on board the trains, the great thing about traveling by rail is you can take as much food and drink on board as you like. You can have a picnic, you can take a bottle of wine on, and you can enjoy the scenery whilst having lunch, even if it isn't available on board the trains. That was actually designed to stop people getting out of their seats and going up to the cafe bars. Like I say, now they are starting to serve food again to your seat, in sealed containers. So we're starting to see that reintroduced on a lot of the operators' lines. They've changed the seat configuration as well, and they've limited the allocation on board to allow for social distancing. As you can imagine, of course, increased cleaning and sanitation and contactless ticket control. We're getting used to everything being contactless these days, aren't we? Just one thing to say as well, the Rail Safety and Standards Board recently announced that when masks were worn on a train, there is a 1 in 20,000 risk. So, there's no zero risk at the moment, but it is relatively low. And of course, with the good news that we've heard over the last few days with the vaccine, hopefully over the next 4 to 6 months, that won't be such a concern. But at the moment, it's good to know that, when traveling on train, when masks are worn, there is a relatively low risk of 1 in 20,000. Okay, so let's start by looking at our holidays now. So this is what we're all here for. So we'll start with one of our Scottish trips. This is the Grand Inverness and the Highlands via the Caledonian Sleeper. It's a great introductory trip to the Scottish Highlands and Scotland itself. Very reasonable starting price as well at £499 per person. So this trip starts in London, where you board the Caledonian Sleeper. You can board the Caledonian Sleeper at any, pickup point as well. We do appreciate, of course, that only a small fraction of the country live in London, and but if you do need to travel from your local station, then we can, of course, facilitate that for you as well. So this starts in London, overnight on the Caledonian Sleeper. I'll talk a little bit more about the accommodation on the Caledonian Sleeper in just a moment. But just to talk to you about the holiday, so you arrive into Inverness in the morning and you have 4 nights in Inverness. You'll have 2 free days to explore in Inverness, and you'll have 2 sightseeing tours as well. There are plenty of things to do in Inverness to fill your time. It boasts an abundance of culture, history, has a really beautiful old town. It's got a 19th century cathedral. The region and the city itself was really made for exploring. We include a hop-on, hop-off tour of Inverness as well as part of the holiday, a really nice option for you to get around the city. There's a Victorian market, Botanic Gardens, the Greek Street Bridge has a fantastic museum and art gallery as well. So, great place to base yourself if you want to explore the Highlands. And we have these 2 day trips as well, one out to the Isle of Skye and Islay and Donan Castle, and one to Loch Ness and Glen Urquhart Castle. These really are 2 fantastic day trips. When we speak to our customers when they return from their holidays in Scotland, these tend to be the trips that they remember, these day tours. So the first one that features is that one out to the Isle of Skye. It starts with a visit to Islay and Donan Castle. It's known as the most photographed castle in Scotland, and then you cross over into the Isle of Skye, where you stop to get a great photo opportunity of the Red Cullen Mountains. You'll also stop in the coastal town of Portree, which you can see bottom left there. You'll have lunch in Portree as well. This is a fully guided tour with an expert guide, and lunch is included as well. After lunch, you'll get to see Kilt Rock, Castle Moyle, and some of the other spectacular locations in Skye, and then you'll come back to Inverness for an overnight stay there. The second trip is out to Loch Ness and Glen Urquhart Castle. Glen Urquhart, known as the greatest castle in the Highlands, it's got a tower called Grant Tower, which you can climb and get fantastic views over the iconic loch. You can have lunch in the cafe there, which is situated perfectly, so it overlooks the hills of the Great Glen and the loch itself. And then again, you're taken on the tour by experts who will talk to you about the history of the castle, the artifacts, and they'll take you on a complete tour of the castle as well as looking around the loch. So 2 fantastic day trips as well in amongst your 4 nights in Inverness. So the Caledonian Sleeper train. Caledonian Sleeper train has various different levels of accommodation on board. The one we're looking at here is the classic room. They do have the option of just a sleeper seat as well. I mean, we wouldn't recommend just the sleeper seat. They aren't particularly comfortable when it comes to a good night's rest. If you're just on the train for the day, it's absolutely fine. But of course, if you're traveling overnight, we would always recommend one of the cabins. The classic room, which you see here, set up as a bunk for the evening, has an in-room wash basin, towels, complimentary sleep pack, including Scottish toiletries, and access to the lounge car as well. But that is subject to space. The reason it's subject to space is because access to the lounge room is reserved for those that upgrade to the club room. Now, all our packages that we sell and holidays that we sell traveling into Scotland include an automatic upgrade to the club room. We've got a very good relationship with the Caledonian Sleeper, so it doesn't cost us a great deal to get you that upgrade, so we include that as standard in all our packages, all our holidays. So what that means is you get access to the lounge car. You also get breakfast delivered to your room each morning, which you wouldn't get in the classic room, and you also get an ensuite toilet and shower, which we know is very important to a lot of people. So it really is worth that upgrade, and as I say, that's included as part of all our holidays into Scotland if you're taking the Caledonian Sleeper. What you also get with the club room is access to the lounges at the stations. So you'll get access to the first class lounge at London Euston and access to the lounge at Inverness as well, where there's a full bar service, there'll be snacks. And it's just a nice way to relax before boarding if you happen to be there half an hour, 45 minutes early. And again, that's restricted to first class and club travelers. So really good upgrade there for you, included in our holiday to club. Just to mention the luggage, there is a space for smaller, medium-sized bags on board the train. Larger suitcases can be placed in the guard's van, so there's no restriction on the amount of baggage you can take. And that's the same for all the holidays we'll look at today. So there's no restrictions on the luggage. Really, if you can carry it and you can take it on board, then they'll allow you to. And most of the, if not all of the compartments that we'll look at today have plenty of space under the bed. So don't worry too much about the amount of luggage that you're taking, even if you're traveling by sleeper. The final cabin we'll look at on the Caledonian is the Caledonian Double. This is unique, actually, in that it's one of the very, very few options throughout Europe where you can get a double bed on board a sleeper train. It has all the same amenities as the club room, so you get the breakfast, you get the ensuite. The difference is that you get a double bed, so a bit more relaxation. There are only a few on each service. They do sell out very, very quickly. So if you are thinking about taking an overnight train holiday into Scotland and you would like that double bed option, they tend to, they're released for sale around about 6 months prior, and they sell pretty quickly. So good to get in as early as possible on that. Not too much of an increase. Usually it's about £50–60 per person to upgrade to that Caledonian Double. But the pricing does depend on the availability. It's what they call dynamic pricing, so it changes as they sell the cabins. Okay, so we're going to move on now to our second featured holiday today, which is our Budapest city break. So first part of this journey is by day. So you start in London on the Eurostar. Again, of course, if you're traveling from your local destination, let us know. We can book your UK rail tickets as well, no problem at all. But you've got your Eurostar from London through to Brussels, and then you've got the high-speed ICE German Deutsche Bahn services from Brussels to Frankfurt and Frankfurt to Munich. You'll arrive into Munich in the evening, but you'll have a good few hours actually before the sleeper train departs. Time actually to grab some dinner at a local restaurant near the station if you should wish. And then it's the overnight sleeper train from from Munich across to Budapest. There are a couple of different options by sleeper train to get you to Budapest, just to point out. So this one runs via Brussels, Munich, sleeper from there. You can also take Eurostar to Brussels and then travel to Cologne and do a sleeper train from Cologne to Vienna, and then a day service from Vienna to Budapest. And for those of you that don't fly, you can see that there is a flight option back here. You could always take that option as your return journey. These holidays we're showing you today are just examples of how you can get to these destinations by sleeper train. Personally, for me, I would always add in a couple of extra nights en route. So you could add in a night in Brussels, a night in Munich, or night in Cologne, a couple of nights in Vienna on the way. You're already paying for the rail, to get you there. Those extra few nights in the hotels don't tend to add too much to the holiday. So that's a really nice way, to add a bit of additional value to your holiday without spending too much. Like I say, there's plenty of cities to see en route there and back that really work well with the trip to Budapest, including a sleeper train. For those of you that haven't traveled to Budapest before, really charming city, one of the most photogenic cities in Europe, I'd say. Obviously set, against the Danube. It's got some fantastic, bridges that cross the Danube. The wonderful Stephen's Basilica as well. And then, of course, the famous thermal spas. I was in Budapest 4 or 5 years ago, and after a day's sightseeing, it's really nice to go and unwind in those public baths. The Chesney Spa is probably the one I would recommend. Or to start your day, if you want to invigorate yourself before that that day's walking. A lot of people go there in the morning just to set themselves up for the day. So a really nice way to spend a bit of time in Budapest is the thermal spas. We also include a candlelit dinner cruise along the Danube. It's a really fantastic way to end the holiday. We tend to do it on the last night for you. Nothing quite like cruising down the Danube River as the sun sets over the skyline. So, really nice way to end the holiday. You have 2 nights in Budapest, which gives you 3 full days because you're, of course, going to arrive into Budapest in the morning. But like I say, there's a lot more to do between London and Budapest as well, should you wish to, expand on this particular trip. Just take a look at the night jet service between Munich and Budapest. So they have the seating carriages as well, as we mentioned on the Caledonian Sleeper. But we'll look at the sleeping accommodation. So at the most basic, they have are the 4 and 6 berth couchettes. We've got 2 couples here, as you can see. We tend to find that the couchettes for ourselves, our customers, tend to be booked more for families. If you've got a family of 4 or a family of 6, it's the most cost-effective way to travel. These are private, locked doors, so you do have your own secure space. You can, of course, upgrade to the single berth, 2 berth or 3 berth private sleeping cabins as well. So they'll fold down in the day to a 3-seat sofa. You do receive breakfast in the morning as well if you're in the 1, 2 or 3 berths. And you can see the beds then fold down to bunks of an evening. Does look slightly precarious, I will admit, at the top there, but they are wider than they look, and they're very, very safe. In the 10 years I've worked here, and the thousands of people we've sent on these holidays, I've never heard of anybody have any trouble or roll off. So don't worry. I know it looks a bit precarious up there, but it's absolutely safe. One thing to mention that they do offer on these particular services as well is an additional upgrade to what they call their deluxe sleeper cabin. Now, there are only 3 of these on board each service, and they come with an ensuite toilet and shower. These standard cabins do not have a shower and toilet. There is a shared toilet in the carriage, but if you do want the shower and the toilet in your compartment, you have to upgrade to a deluxe. As I say, they're released 6 months in advance, and there's only 3 on board. So again, if you're looking for that holiday next spring, perhaps next summer, and you are somebody that's going to require a shower in your cabin, great time to inquire now to make sure that we can guarantee that availability for you on board. Most people who take this service, if it's available, will upgrade to the deluxe if they can. It's only around £25 per person to upgrade, so well worth doing. I would recommend eating as well before boarding. There's no restaurant car on board the service. As I say, if you're not going to have an additional night in Munich, you do have about 3 hours when you arrive in Munich before the sleeper train departs. Plenty of time to eat in a restaurant close to the station. Of course, we can give you recommendations when you speak to our staff. But also, you know, there are plenty of shops right by the station itself where you can pick up food to take on board as well. So I'd highly recommend doing that before travel. So that's our trip over to Budapest by sleeper. The next holiday we're going to look at today is the overnight train to Venice. Venice is actually our most popular holiday spot across all Europe and North America. Venice is our hotspot. It's our most popular destination. Again, this starts in London. It takes exactly the same route through to Munich. There used to be a service direct from Paris to Venice that no longer operates. To be honest, the service they now run from Munich to Venice is a better service than the one from Paris to Venice. It's a more comfortable. So actually, this is a better route now. So same as before, London to Brussels on the Eurostar, Brussels to Frankfurt, Frankfurt to Munich, and then that overnight train to Venice. The difference here is that this is the only route by sleeper to reach Venice really nowadays. If you did want to return by train and not fly, I'd recommend taking the direct train from Venice to Geneva via the Simplon Pass and through the Swiss Alps. Really is a fantastic way to travel. If you're going to take the sleeper train out, this is the most scenic route back. You can have a night or two in Geneva, and then there's a direct service, high-speed TGV French service from Geneva to Paris before traveling back to London. So for those that don't fly, I would highly recommend taking a trip through the Swiss Alps on the way back. On the way there, of course, you're going to travel by sleeper. You are going to see some of the stunning Brenner Pass. So even though you're traveling overnight, you will still get a chance with a bit of light to see the Brenner Pass as you travel through the German Austrian Alps there as well. So this is still a really scenic train journey. How much you see of that does depend on the time of year, of course, but hopefully you'll still get to see a bit of that Brenner Pass and those stunning views of the Alps as you travel from Munich to Venice. When you wake up in the morning and you travel into Venice by sleeper train, you really do feel like you're arriving in style. You glide across the Lagoon Bridge into Santa Lucia Station before those 3 nights in Venice. You know, I'd say that there's probably no better city in the world to arrive into by train than Venice. For any of you that have done it before, you'll know that, you know, as you walk down the steps out of Santa Lucia Station, you've got the Grand Canal right in front of you. You know, in Venice itself, the island kind of hovering on the water. It's a spectacular sight, and it's a sight that really you don't get if you fly. If you fly into Venice and then take the water bus across to the island, you don't get that instant impact, that kind of jaw-dropping feel that you get if you arrive by train. So for me, it was the first time I went to Venice. I went by train. It was, you know, absolute highlight of the holiday almost was arriving into the station and seeing Venice for the first time. So absolutely fantastic way to arrive. While you're in Venice as well, you see we do include a gondola ride, small group walking tour as well in Venice. I'd also recommend going out to the island as well of Murano and Burano to see where they make the glass, you know, Murano and the coloured houses of Burano. So there's so much to do in Venice. We give you 3 nights, but you could always extend that to 4 or 5 nights. Or of course, you could extend that to Florence, Rome, you know, the lakes, Lake Como, Lake Garda, travel down to the Amalfi Coast as well. So, you know, the opportunities are endless, really. This again is just showing you how you can get to Italy and Venice by sleeper train. And you can just see, you know, to the left, centre left there, Santa Lucia Station. You can see the steps, and you can see as you walk, as I mentioned, you walk down there, you've got kind of the Grand Canal in front of you. You've got the Vaporetta stop there as well, the water bus you can see there. I would highly recommend, you know, buying a pass on the Vaporetta or on the water bus if you're there. Maybe a 48-hour pass. They cost about €20, and we can provide them for you. An individual journey on the water bus is about €7, so you only have to take the water bus 3 times while you're there, and you'd have made your money back. It's the most affordable way of traveling, and a fantastic way, of course, to get around Venice is using the water bus while you're there. You can see the private speedboats as well. They cost a bit more. They tend to be around 100, €150 if you want to take a private speedboat to the hotel, but we can organise that as well if you want to arrive in luxury. Just to talk about our featured hotel in Venice as well, it's called the Palazzo Giovanelli. I would like to mention this one because it's right on the Grand Canal. This is the one that we tend to offer to our customers. It's a 4-star hotel. Of course, if you're looking for a 5-star hotel, we can offer that as well, but this is really good value for what it offers. Right on the Grand Canal, contemporary style, but lots of luxurious pieces of furniture, 16th century decorations as well. It was owned at one time by the Mozart family, so steeped in tradition. Has its own water bus stop as well, so very easy to get from the hotel to the main sites. So perfectly located, great tradition. As I say, we include this in a lot of our holidays. So, you know, if you call in and talk to us about our holidays, I'm sure you'll hear a bit more about the Palazzo Giovanelli Hotel. It's definitely one of our favourites that we offer. Just to mention on that previous holiday as well, of course, the sleeper train is the same service as the train between Munich and Budapest. So you've got the standard cabins, the deluxe cabins as well. So it's the exact same service to Budapest as it is to Venice as well, just to make sure that you're aware of that. Okay, so the next one we're going to look at is traveling down to Sicily by train. Not an area of Italy, perhaps, that people necessarily think of traveling to by train, but actually more accessible than you would imagine. So this particular holiday starts in London, does follow a different route though. London to Paris this time on the Eurostar, and then Paris to Milan. You arrive into Milan too late that first evening to pick up the sleeper train, so we do include a night in Milan. Of course, you can extend that to a couple of nights should you wish. Because you're going to have the full day in Milan before the sleeper train departs, we include a hop-on, hop-off sightseeing pass in Milan. If you are just going to have the one night, your time will be, you know, pretty tight. So we give you that pass to allow you to get around and see the sights of Milan before the sleeper train departs that evening. When you pick up the overnight sleeper train, it will take you all the way from Milan to Sicily itself, to Messina, and then on to Taormina for your first 2 nights. So you're going to have 2 nights in Taormina, 2 nights in Catania, and 2 nights in Palermo. And we also include a half-day tour to Mount Etna. Now, my product manager was lucky enough to go and experience this particular tour when he was researching the holiday, as he likes to do. Said it was probably the highlight of this entire trip. It's a 4x4 Jeep tour of Mount Etna, head up to the peak of, as we know, Europe's largest active volcano. Plenty of fantastic photo opportunities along the way. You're going to cross lava fields, learn about the history of the volcano, the unique flora, the fauna, the environment that surrounds it as well. So a really fantastic half-day tour to Mount Etna included as well within those 6 nights on Sicily itself. So the sleeper train from Milan to Sicily is a different service to the one that runs from Munich to Venice, Munich to Budapest. However, the cabins themselves are pretty similar. Each sleeper compartment here has its own wash basin, folds down as before to a 3-seat sofa and a private sitting room. You're going to have your complimentary tea, coffee, and juice in the morning. Doesn't come with a complimentary breakfast. Okay, so again, I would recommend taking some snacks on board with you. There is no restaurant car, so I'd very much recommend having some dinner in Milan before you depart. Big difference as well is there is no option to upgrade to a deluxe on this one. There are no showers on board. It's a little bit more basic, this particular service. Okay, does have the wash basins, does of course have toilet facilities shared in the carriages, but doesn't have that option of an upgrade to a deluxe ensuite shower and toilet, just so you're aware. One of the real highlights of this particular holiday, though, is the arrival into Sicily by train. Of course, Sicily is an island, and you need to get across the Straits of Messina to arrive. After your first night on the sleeper train, you're going to wake and you'll still be in mainland Italy, but you'll be traveling along the beautiful Italian coastline. You'll have a fantastic view of that coastline, and the train itself runs just a few feet from the water. It really is a fantastic view when you wake up that morning. And on all these sleeper trains, you may have seen in some of the pictures, there's some big windows, so you can really take in, you know, the scenery that's out there for you. So when you wake up in the morning, you're going to be right by the shores of almost the Mediterranean. Then the train comes to the end of the Italian main line, of course. And how does it get across the water? Well, the train itself boards a ferry, and then the ferry, the train on board, and you on board the train will cross the Straits of Messina. Fantastic thing to be able to do. You can disembark the train, stretch your legs, get a taste of that fresh Mediterranean air before arriving into Messina itself. I think it's one of only 2 train boats that still exist these days. So it's a unique opportunity to arrive this way into your destination. Fantastic, and really, again, along with that stay on Sicily is probably a real highlight of the trip. Little picture there of Taormina as well, ancient ruins, and there's so much history and culture in that 6 nights in Sicily. Fantastic place to be able to visit and travel down to by train. If you don't fly, I would mention that really there's only one way to get back, which is the same route that we took. If you do fly, I probably would recommend flying back from Palermo to the UK after taking the train all the way down to Sicily. Obviously, it's quite a long journey down to Sicily via Milan. But if you don't, no problem at all. We can offer all of these holidays as round trip by rail, as well as air and rail. Okay, so the final holiday we're going to look at this afternoon is the most luxurious one we have on offer, which is the Venice-Simplon-Orient Express to Venice with the Glacier Express and the Bernina Express. Now, we pair the Venice-Simplon-Orient Express with a number of different destinations. Venice, the lakes, Vienna, Florence, Rome. The one we've chosen to highlight today is perhaps our most popular one because it includes the luxury of the Venice-Simplon-Orient Express. Then it also includes the fantastic scenery of the Swiss Alps and a return journey via the Bernina Express and the Glacier Express as well. So this kind of really is a 10-day extravaganza with luxury and scenery all rolled into one, really for, I suppose, a special occasion, almost a once-in-a-lifetime trip, this one. So I'll talk you through the trip itself. So you board at London Victoria, and you won't be boarding the Venice-Simplon-Orient Express at that point. The Venice-Simplon-Orient Express itself is too old to be able to travel under the channel. So you'll pick up the British Pullman in London with its famous Belle Epoque carriages, and you travel from London Victoria down to Folkestone. It's about a 3-hour journey, and there'll be a 5-course Bellini brunch served on board. When you arrive into Folkestone, you'll be met by a representative there, and there'll be a brass band that greets you as well, and they'll transfer you onto a luxury coach. Now, the only way to travel from Folkestone to Calais is on the Eurotunnel, so you will be on a luxury coach, but again, you'll have a representative with you there, and you'll be served drinks and snacks on board. And then late afternoon, you'll arrive into Calais, and this is where you'll pick up the Venice-Simplon-Orient Express itself. You'll be met by your porter at your carriage, and you'll be shown to your cabin. This is what your cabin accommodation will look like. You'll have your luggage waiting for you in your room when you arrive. Very opulent, pristine condition. Harks back to the 1920s. The cabins are almost in their original state. When the train first made its way from Paris through to Istanbul all those years ago. It's 100 years ago now. So there's no showers in the cabins. Some people are surprised at that, but it's because it's the exact same cabin as it would have been pretty much all those years ago. So they haven't changed a great deal. So this is what it looks like when you arrive. Again, you see those big windows that are going to allow you to get the scenery as you travel through Austria and into Italy. When you go for dinner that evening, you will be served a 4-course dinner with wine. All the food is sourced locally on board, and you can sourced locally and prepared on board for you. Now, and you can actually get your porter to walk you through the train, and there's 3 different dining cars, and you can pick the one that best suits you, so you can actually choose where you sit for dinner, which is quite a nice touch. And while you're at dinner, your porter will make your beds. So the Orient Express does have bunk beds. Again, this is how it's always been. This is a picture actually from what's called a cabin suite, which allows you to purchase 2 cabins and have an interconnecting door. So if you did wish to travel on the Orient Express, but you didn't wish to have an upper bunk or an upper berth, you could purchase the cabin suite, which comes at a small supplement, but then that allows you to have 2 lower berth bunks as well. And this is what it looks like when it's set up. You do have a wash basin in your room, of course. It does come with some luxury toiletries, as you would imagine, and of course there's a toilet that's shared by the carriage, which of course is cleaned regularly. It's in pristine condition. It's probably the most luxurious bathroom you'll ever set foot in. And you've got your slippers and your bathrobe as well. And they try and make it as opulent as possible, as you can imagine. There is one option of a double bed on board, and this does come with the only shower. So they do have one shower on board now, which comes with the Grand Suite accommodation. It's about 2.5 times as expensive as the standard. So instead of paying 5,500 for this holiday, you're probably looking at spending somewhere between 10, 12, almost up to 15,000 per person if you take the Grand Suite accommodation. So this is the high end. It's brand new to the Venice-Simplon-Orient Express. I think it was only introduced last year, possibly the year before. Time goes so quickly, I lose track. But it's definitely only been a feature of the Orient Express, perhaps for maximum the last couple of years. But for anyone that really has that special occasion, is looking to do it in absolute luxury, there is one Grand Suite accommodation on board. The Venice-Simplon-Orient Express release their cabins usually around 12 months in advance. So again, if you're looking for a cabin on board, especially the Grand Suite, you do need to get in early to secure it. There is a lounge car, of course, which you can use throughout the day, but usually that's pretty busy of an evening. Pre-dinner and post-dinner, people will be sitting, mingling, meeting other guests, having a few drinks at the bar. There's a piano player. He'll pretty much play all evening. The lounge car tends not to close until the last person retires to their room. So that's open all evening and all day for you to retire to and relax, should you want a bit of space outside of your cabin. And I mentioned the dining carriages as well. So you're not just served dinner, but on the second day, you also have lunch on board the Orient Express as well. You'll have breakfast served to your cabin, and you'll also have an afternoon tea served to your cabin as well. So they do feed you up very, very well indeed. You'll have 4 different meals on board the Orient Express between Calais and Venice. As I mentioned, you'll also get to travel on the Bernina Express as well. Bernina Express is a UNESCO listed World Heritage line. The entirety of the Bernina Express from Tirano through to St. Moritz and then on to Kur is all protected by UNESCO. It's probably the Swiss's greatest feat of engineering. You have the Landwasser Viaduct, the fantastic spirals, and of course you're going to go past kind of snow-capped mountain peaks as well. And you'll have 2 nights in St. Moritz. When you depart St. Moritz, you'll travel all the way through to Zermatt and you'll experience the full length of the Glacier Express line as well. Glacier Express is affectionately known as the slowest express train in the world. It only runs at about 25 miles an hour, but it allows you to take in all that breathtaking scenery en route. So you get the Bernina Express and the Glacier Express thrown in as well. You have 2 nights in Zermatt, home to the Matterhorn, probably the most photographed mountain in Switzerland, and we include an excursion up the Gornergrat, which is the funicular railway that takes you up and allows you to experience those fantastic views of the Matterhorn. So that really is a kind of once in a lifetime trip, including the Orient Express, 3 nights in Venice, a trip on the Bernina Express, a trip on the Glacier Express, 2 nights in Zermatt, 2 nights in St. Moritz, a trip to see the Matterhorn. So that might be one for later in 2021 or saving up for 2022 perhaps, but a fantastic luxury trip nonetheless. So they're the 5 holidays that we'll be discussing today. I mean, really, we just scratched the surface. There's plenty of other overnight rail journeys to consider on our website. A few of them here. We've got Umbria by overnight train. Again, a lesser kind of visited best area, I should say, of Italy, especially by train. The Vienna city break, I mentioned that option over to Budapest. You can take the sleeper from Cologne to Vienna. So we do, of course, offer a Vienna city break along with a Budapest city break. And we have our Northern Lights holidays as well. The sleeper between Oslo and Trondheim on the way up to Bodo. So that's a very popular holiday as well around this time of year normally. But of course, perhaps looking further into late 2021, that's going to be very popular again. So if something interests you there, and you want to learn a bit more information on any of those holidays, please do give us a call. You can always visit our website. Some of you I'm sure will have done already as well, railbookers.co.uk, to get the full range of all our holidays. Our phone number there as well, 0203 780 2222. Got a team of experts just ready to answer any of your questions and start planning that next perfect holiday for you. If you did enjoy this webinar, hopefully you did, and you're looking to learn a bit more about what we offer, same time, same place over the next couple of weeks. So on the 1st of December, we have our 5 most popular holidays closer to home. I said at the beginning, we mentioned our Scottish holidays. Scotland's become a hugely popular destination for us over the last 6 months as well. And then the week after, 8th of December, our top 7 holidays for 2021. So if you're still not sure exactly which holiday to take for next year, we're going to be featuring our top 7, our most popular holidays, to give you a bit more inspiration. So that concludes the webinar. Pretty much bang on time, not too bad, 41 minutes in, I think, so I've not done too badly. I do appreciate all of you that have stayed with me today, and if there are any questions, I'll give you a couple of minutes just to pop them in, and I'll answer as many as I can over the next few minutes. Any that we don't get to, we'll be more than happy to reply to you afterwards. I'll get one of my sales guys to reach out and answer any questions that you might have, but I'll give you all a moment or two just to ask any questions, anything that I perhaps haven't covered that you'd like to know. Okay, so got a couple of questions coming through here. Got one from Penelope. Thank you, Penelope, asking, in the Caledonian Sleeper club class, are they still bunk beds if you don't want to double? Yes, so Penelope, say the standard club class does come with those bunk beds, absolutely. If you want to pay a little bit extra, you can upgrade to the double bed, which is the Caledonian Double. So what we offer is the club class, which comes with the ensuite, comes with the breakfast, comes with the bunks. So you don't have to upgrade to the double to have the club class and the amenities. You can get the amenities with the bunk, absolutely. The Caledonian Double is just if you want that little bit of extra legroom and relaxation on board. We have one other here from Sarah, just mentioned, are the trains suitable for families and children? Absolutely, they are. As I say, on board the sleeper trains, depending on the age of the children, we'd probably recommend the couchettes, if it's a family of 4, the 4 berths. If it's a family of 5, you might split it between a room for 2 and a room for 3, possibly. And depending on the age of the children, that will determine the cost of the ticket as well. The operators work slightly differently in their age ranges. So, give us a call, and, if they're at a certain age, they may travel for free. If they're between perhaps, 4 and 15, they may just pay a 50% charge. It depends on the train operator, but absolutely all our holidays are fit for families. The only one I would perhaps not be wary of, but is the Venice-Simplon-Orient Express. That usually is more exclusive, more for adults. You tend not to find too many children on there. If you do, they tend to be older, maybe 14 and above. But no, all our holidays are absolutely suitable, and the sleeper train suitable for children. And Joseph has asked about the luggage on board the trains. So yeah, so as I mentioned, yes, so absolutely no issue with the luggage. with the Caledonian Sleeper and the Venice-Simplon-Orient Express, you can check your bags in when you board. So you can just take a day bag on board with you, and they'll store your suitcase in another area of the train, which people tend to prefer to do rather than having to, to lug their suitcase with them, to their cabin and take up the space. They can just take a day bag or small bag for the overnight and pick up your suitcase when you arrive at your destination. For the trains in between, for the night jet, Munich to Budapest, Munich to Venice, and for the Trenitalia service from Milan down to Sicily, you would take your suitcases into your cabin, actually. So there is space underneath the beds. Again, I mean, you don't want 2 or 3 large cases, or because it may take up some space, but there is enough room, to take luggage on board, so you don't need to worry about that as much as you can take on is absolutely fine. Just see if we've had any other questions, but I think that's all. So of course, if anything does spring to mind, anybody has any other questions after this, please let us know. We will be sending out the presentation to all of you. So if there's anything you missed or you wanted to see it again, some of you will, maybe some of you won't, but we'll see how that goes. But we will send you a copy of the presentation so you can watch it again at your own time. But I just, wanted to finish by saying thank you ever so much for joining me today. It's been a pleasure talking to you. I hope you've had some inspiration for next year. I know it's been a really tough year for us all, but hopefully we can all enjoy our holidays again into 2021 and 2022. So, have a great rest of the day. Enjoy your week, and hopefully we'll speak to you again soon. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye now.